Alright, what's up YouTube? So, I've had a few comments asking me how to make an 18650 battery pack for a drone. Alright, so we got ones like this that we've made, okay? Yeah, there's Gaoneng stickers on there. I put it on there just because, whatever. Or they look like this. These are 21700 cells compared to 18650s. So, that's like something we're gonna make. Those are 4S. These ones over here, this is 2S pack with same 830Qs. So this is probably my favorite battery from the 18650 line, those sizes. And then we also have these mono cells. So these are the P26s, 35 amp, 2600 milliamp hours, I think. So we'll make a battery out of those today. So basically, just some things to go over here about making batteries. All right, so this is not for everybody. Know your comfort zone of what you're capable working with. Try and expand your knowledge base. You know, some rules building these things. Okay, number one is dangerous. Okay, these things are not safe. You know, if you don't know what you're doing and you're not comfortable, you shouldn't do it. Okay, number two, it's still dangerous. All right. And number three, it's still dangerous. All right. So all of this stuff is not, it's not a game. It's not something just to do because, I don't know, you learned it from somewhere or learning it from me. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a professional. All right. So be smart when you build things. Use your brain. Okay. Be responsible and everything will be Gucci. Okay. So some things to go over, what things you need. Number one, batteries, okay? Pick something good, all right? 30 Qs, have a 30 amp discharge. Those are gonna be great for drones. If you pick something like a 5 amp, nothing's gonna happen. It'll just get swamped and you're not gonna fly, all right? So after you pick your cells, okay, it's helpful to buy these little stickers, all right? You don't need to use them, but I prefer using these. It helps in case, you know, the cells shift or something won't rub through the plastic. You can always buy more 18650 wraps and double wrap them if you want. Doesn't really matter. If they're scuffed, if anything looks ripped on these, like anywhere they look ripped or something, just put a new 18650 wrap on. It's just do it. So these are great little stickers. They work good. All right, and the second thing you'll need, always helps, you don't need it, are these little 3D printed cell organizers. So you basically, however you stack them up, whatever your layout is, 4S is pretty straightforward, you're just alternating them, but they help to kind of give the pack some shape. So you're not just trying to tape them together and then that's it. So after you got these two things, you're gonna need some hot glue gun, all right? You're gonna need soldering iron. That's important. You can't build a battery without a soldering iron. Got some 14 gauge wire, 18 XT60 connector. All right, you're gonna need a balance lead connector as well. Kapton, okay, get your Kapton tape, electrical tape, useful. Okay, and as for putting it together, you have two options. You can get a spot welder. Okay, spot welders are great. There's even portable ones. The portable ones are kind of weak. They're okay as long as you use 0.1 millimeter thick nickel plated sheet, whatever these are, okay? So as long as you use anything thin, it's fine. But there's a thing of using thicker ones, like these 0.15s. This cannot do it. It just doesn't zap through and spot weld the nickel strip to the top of the terminal. So that's why I use a bigger machine. So if you're planning on building packs like these, realistically when you're flying, you're only going to be drawing maybe 15 amps. Okay, so there's a calculator out there about how many amps can go through these based on the width. So these are like 8 mil wide. All right. And I think it's something like, maybe it's like 8 amps or something that can go through these pretty fine. And then if you double stack them, it's even better. I'm going to double stack it today because in the end, you're making the battery more efficient at discharging so your drone can fly. If you use thin ones like this, yeah, it'll work. It might get hotter. It might be less efficient. Who knows what the math is? I haven't even tried it or what the real world experience is or what the numbers are, but if you're using just thin little ones, it's fine. You're not going to be drawing a lot of amps, but I mean, you're going to be losing power due to heat. That's like how the usual thing goes. So in the end, get yourself something good. All right, I've built batteries just soldering them together, but to be honest, I appreciate the spot welder for the fact that I know that these strips are going to be on there, and it's cleaner. It weighs less because you're not using all this wire and stuff to stick them together. So spot welder is the way to go. I'm going to use a spot welder today. Also, you need a razor blade because when it comes to soldering, the solder doesn't really stick to these, so you got to scratch them up. Same thing if you were just to build them regular. You have to scratch the terminal or sand it or something. I just scratch it so the solder sticks. So that's kind of what you need today to build these. So I will pause, clean up my area, and get ready to build the pack. All right, so got our little heat gun or glue gun here. Gonna grab your cells. All right. Okay, so well, first step here, just gonna put a little glue on here. All it is to clip them on to this little mount. However you want to do it, I just kind of square it up on there and then press it on. So that's one. All right. So you started with one, you're going to alternate the other. It's positive, ground, okay, positive again, ground again, and then just glue them all on there. All right, so I'll finish that up and then get back to it. Add a little bit more, just shoot it down in the crack between them. People might complain that it's extra weight, but you know, to me, it doesn't matter, honestly, because it will just be a sturdier pack. All right, so that's pretty much it for the glue gun. Don't really need it anymore. All right, so once you've done your pack, you really have to envision how your cells are going to match up. You can always number them. I always do that. These are only 1S. This is a 4S 1P pack. So it's very straightforward. When you're going to 2S, 4S, 2P variants, you wouldn't configure it this way if it was 4S. You would end up configuring it differently. I guess with these SAMI 30Qs we can show you. So because you're doing 2P, so each one's parallel, you would end up having to combine these two to combine on the bottom. So because you're going 2 parallel, so you want more capacity. So that's one way you do it with those cells, but with this it's pretty easy. So we just start with the positive side here, make it a number 1, the negative one 2, the positive of the second cell is 3, the ground of the second one is 4, rotate it, this one's 5, 6, 7, and 8. So as you can see, your 1 on the first cell, your 8, that's your positives, your negatives. So that's where the power is going to come out from the whole pack. So when you go from the cells here, because you're linking each cell, you kind of look at it as this is your start, that's your finish on the back. How do you want the power to flow through the pack. So with the numbers, it helps because you know that 2 is going to go to 3 because your positive goes to the negative, all right, of the second cell, first to second. Then your 4 goes to 5, okay. Then it goes down, your 6 is going to go to 7, all right, and then your 8 is where it comes off. So that's how that kind of goes. You can even label it here and put positive, okay, and this one negative. So that's how you're going to end up spot welding this pack together. So that way you know that the pack is going to come out at 4S. So a couple extra things you're going to need. Don't even think about spot welding anything yet. Just make sure you get yourself some gloves, okay? No cut gloves. These are great. They're important. They'll save your fingers because God forbid you short circuit any of these. These things are razor blades and they will cut the hell out of you if they're going bright red. It's like a hot knife. I learned the hard way. I cut my hand right open, so it's not worth it. Get some gloves, get some glasses, and make sure you get a damn multimeter. Okay, with this stuff, you need to measure everything. I know all my cells are at 3.5, so before you even glue these together, I should have talked about that. Make sure you measure the voltage of each cell. Okay, it doesn't matter which way it goes. If it's negative on the thing, that's fine. But 3.5, okay? I don't know if you guys can see that, but okay, 3.5. Make sure every cell is the same before you go putting them together. I mean, yeah, maybe it's only a difference of 0.12 volts, but if it's a difference of a whole volt, okay, just go charge them, go balance them, whatever the hell to make them all the same. That's important when you go to sticking on these strips so that they're not like sparking off if you stick them on wrong or anything like that. So now we can start with the spot welding. Let me put my gloves on and we'll be back. All right, so you're gonna get your nickel strips here and you can cut them all at the same time because the distance shouldn't change, but you're just kind of seeing the length that you want. So here I'm gonna cut this one here. You might get lucky and these ones could just be in half. Yeah, it could work. I mean, it's not a big deal, I guess. Personally, I like cutting them before I eat each thing. But you can always put it on here, take a Sharpie, mark where you want to cut it. All right, maybe I'll cut a little wider than that. Right there, snip. Keep them all away from your battery, all right? So we'll do that real quick and then we'll get to spot welding. All right, so I got my spot welder here. It has to be on a level surface or it won't activate. Setting wise on here, I'm at 2 pulses. So every time you hit it, it goes, but it's fast. You wouldn't notice. Current wise, I've realized that with 0.15 strips, you need about 70 on the current in order to get it to stick well. So first step, realizing your numbers, your path that you're gonna go. You don't want to complete the circuit, aka you don't want to bridge this. If you join these two and you join these two are gonna short circuit and they're gonna glow, all right? So that's the thing you want to avoid, but you already mapped it out, so it's not a big deal. You see what you're doing. Okay, I always prefer to see the link I'm planning to do. So you set these on here, just like that. Okay. Walk over to the thing, move it, and hold it. Done. And then you go again, 2. So these are 2. Done. Okay. If you want, I mean, I know this one's going to stick, but you can go over here and you can pull them. If you pull them and they don't move, that's good. You have a good weld. What you don't want is bad weld. So that's 1 and 2. That's done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the whole thing and then I do the second layer on top. I do the second layer because that whole part of the consistent amperage draw, these will get hot, so this makes it run a little cooler in the end when you are using the battery. So you can go in here, pick another nickel strip. So we've done 2 to 3, now you're doing 4 to 5. So These are the next two cells that are going to get joined. Okay. But right there, I like to position 1 and 2. In the video, it might spark off. That happens. Don't get scared. But if you put the two electrodes too close to the edge, I have my extra ones here. If you get these two electrodes and you're too close to the edge like this, it might be too much amperage going through on the soldering to where it sparks the end. But nothing to be too scared about. It's a little frightening, but you kind of get over it. So there you go, 4 to 5, now 6 to 7. So I'm gonna rotate her, make sure 6 to 7, that's where you're finishing. Again, you don't want to join the wrong things or it'll glow and she won't be happy. Another thing to avoid is make sure that your nickel strips are flat. You don't want them going inside here because this is the top, but the ground is the whole outside. The whole outside of the battery is ground. So if you were to put the nickel strip over the top, you'd ground these two halves. So even if you stick, I'm not going to do it, but if you stick something down in there, they will spark because these are unprotected cells. There's no protection on them. So make sure that they're flat. They're not trying to like crawl in there. So I don't like that. So we'll flip it like this. There we go. So you set it on there. Walk on over. 1, 2. This comes with the foot pedal, but I don't really use the foot pedal. I just make sure that I am pushing and get it good. All right, so that's all on there. So now what we can do, get your multimeter out. All right. When spazzing off. Okay, so you go your negative, your positive, 14.3. So these are about 3.5 each, so you're at that voltage that you're looking for. We always measure here. Measure, measure, measure. Okay, so now I'm going to do all these connections again. That's to complete a pack. Get your multimeter out again. And 14. All right, so that's good. All fine, all dandy. We can even check individual voltages. In case you're doing this and maybe one didn't add up correctly, you could check, but they all add up fine. So that's all good. It's all together now. And then the very next thing is adding a outlet lead. These ones, so you got to solder them onto there. My trick with these, because the solder never sticks to these terminals, you have to scratch them. You can use sandpaper. I just use the corner of a razor blade to scratch them because the solder will not stick. There's usually oxidation on here, so it's tough. Same thing later when we do the balance lead, you're going to be kind of scratching these in order to get the solder to stick. So the soldering's done. I guess another thing, I've seen people do this before. They might like leave a tab on the front and solder to the tab, but I mean, to be honest, I don't think there's a point to having another tab on where your power is coming out. So I'm going to fire up my soldering iron and then we'll do the next part. All right, so we're back. I was making a little pigtail here. If you don't know how to make a pigtail, this stuff ain't for you, okay? Just keeping it real, okay? If you can't make one of those, yeah, this is not for you. So, as always, clean your build area, okay? You don't want anything doing stupid stuff. Because things do stupid things, and it's not even you half the time. So, here's 1, here's 2. Positive, negative, that's your thing. Most likely, these are oxidized, so they just rarely stick with the solder. So you're going to come in here and just scratch it at the top. Okay, you're just scuffing it so that way the solder will stick. Don't go sticking the razor blade in the top of the positive end. You'll spark it. You might even kill the cell trying to short circuit it like that. So that's scuffed enough. Okay, then you're gonna go on the negative end and you're gonna scuff that one too. All right. Okay, so now that you've done that, clean your soldering iron. All right, and you come in here and you can get your solder. Okay, get it nice and juiced and go put a bead on there. Okay, that's a start. As long as you get something to stick, you can always add more later. You don't want to overheat these. So, you know, you can just go in there like one thing with a little bit of ball, try and get some on there. That's it. Just wait a minute, give it a sec to cool off because you don't want to overheat the cell. Overheating it can kill the cell or, you know, just it won't work as well. So, see, we've got one little ball now. It's way easier now to go put more on there. Okay, so like I said, you don't want to overheat these things. The life or the health will just kind of suffer. So go in there, add a little ball. That's good. Now just give it a moment. All right, you don't want those things too hot. They heat up, you know, they conduct the heat pretty well. So that's the part of just giving it a second to rest. Now with these, when you're soldering this, hold it so that they're not going to do anything. Because you got to put one on and the other, just like jumping a car. If you touch this one's positive, and you know, or even however it is, and you touch them two together, they're going to spark. So hold to one side, okay? Get over here with your soldering iron, melt her in. All right, so that's pretty good. So this one, same thing. All right, you don't want to touch it with anything else. And wait till it melts at that second ball right on the top of the cell, and boom, done. All right, so they're good. They're on there. They're not going to go anywhere. That's how we stick the lead on. And like I said, measure, measure, measure. I have this little one, 14.0, okay? Same thing, you can get your multimeter out, but this is still measuring the entirety of the cell because they're all joined in series. So that's done for now. The next thing you got to do, get yourself a balance lead. You need one, okay? So how the order goes on these, it's your positive goes to positive, okay? The very end one here is your negative one, okay? You have 3 in the middle. Those are the balance leads, all right? So the one next to positive is number 1. So that's going to go to your first joint here in the middle. You can stick it on the negative side of the cell, okay? Then there's your second one. This one goes here to the top, okay? Number 4. Okay, so 2, 4. Then your third one in the end is going to go to number 6 on the bottom. So that's how these line up, okay? What you got to end up doing is, and also notice how I haven't pulled the heat shrink off the end. It's another thing that helps. You never know. 2 things could touch and make little fireworks, okay? So you can figure how long you want these things. I mean, I'll run them like standard length, maybe half the length of the pigtail I made, so I can still plug it in my charger. Because too short and it just make them longer. Longer is better. You have battery straps, so you can strap it down. So you're gonna measure it out how long you want. These 2 are basically gonna be the same length, so it doesn't really matter what you do. But yeah, let's say I'm gonna cut them up there. So cut these 2. That's the length I like. That's good. You're gonna solder these 2 to those. So you can't pinch it off the gloves. If you have strippers, that's good. I have them over there, but these are just ends, so it's not a big deal. Okay. So you're gonna spin it, solder them, and then put them on, okay? pretty simple. That's one. All right, and two. So I'm gonna try and keep mine neat. I want to try and thread these middle ones through the middle, but we'll just go here. And she's on. That'll be good. I'm gonna go with the second one here. All right, hold her on. Oh, and try and melt her on. Okay, so boom, okay. So now we can do the first one. All right, so this one's gonna go to the second. I'm gonna go thread it through the middle. All right, so this is why I like these 3D printed ones, because you have the ability to thread them through the middle rather than on the outside. So I'm gonna go here. Like I said, these never will hold the solder right away. So you can come in here and just scuff it up. All right. Clean it off. Rotate it. Get her wet. And that's good enough. Solder it on. Hold it over. And then you're gonna just tack it on. Super quick. Okay. Now we're gonna go for the second one, the one in the middle there. Actually, is gonna have the shortest distance of them. So straight across. So we went to 2, now this one's for 4. So same thing. You're gonna come in here carefully, scratch in, just scuff it up so that the solder will stick. I prefer the razor blade over sandpaper because I feel sandpaper spreads things, and it's already sand, it's metallic anyways. So this is a little easier to keep the spread down. So this one, same thing. Let's measure it out. You can always make it a little longer. Longer is better in life. And pull it off. Okay, so keep her away from things. Try and noodle her around so it doesn't get near anything. Tin it up. Come on over. And then tuck it in. Super fast. You're not putting a lot of heat to try and get the stick on. That's why I think this is much better over the longevity of building the cell. During the whole period of building it, you're putting less heat into the cell. And there's less chance of it just dying. So now the third one is your third balance lead. You're gonna throw that down the middle. So I might have to spin it to get it to stick out the other end. And there she is. Okay. So that one, same thing. You're gonna go to number 6. So you're gonna get your razor blade. You're gonna come in there. You're gonna scratch it, scuff it up a little. All right. Boom. Then you're gonna come in here, tend a little bit, and try and get a little ball to form on there. Oops, that was kind of bad. Let me rotate that. And boom, done. That's all you need. Make sure that the length is good. Come in here, snip her off. Be careful when you're snipping. Okay. Same thing. I mean, yeah, we're working over the battery, but it's okay. Just be very careful doing what you're doing. Okay, so you can take this end, put it to number 6, and good. All right, so with that, we've put the things together. Make sure you brush all your crap away. All right, it looks good. So the first thing we can do, like we always do, measure, measure, measure. 14.1. Then you can get the balance lead here. Okay. So 4 cell, 14.0. Okay. 1, 3, 5, 2, 3, 4, 8, 3, 3, 5, 1, 4, 3, 5, 1. Okay. So another way we're going to check it is you can put it down like that. You're going to get your multimeter because we check, check, check around here. Check, check, check. All right, so this is, let me remove this so you guys can see it. All right, so hopefully you guys can read that. But so we're here, your first one red, and then your last one black, 14.2. Okay, sounds good. When you're going, if you go to the first one, you'll see 3.6. The next one, 7.1. Okay, 7.1, 7.2. Then your third one, 10.7. And then your complete package, 14.2. All right, so you can always check them individually if you wanted. So you know that the second and third one, 3.6. You go to the next spot here, these two, 3.5. And then the next one here, 3.6. So each cell is accounted for, looks good. The other thing I like to do is, okay, well I have this charger. We're not soldering it anymore, so let me plug that. This little iFlight mini one. I like to plug it in and make sure that the charger can recognize all the cells, because that also gives you a good indicator if you did your balance leads correctly. Sometimes if you plug them into smart chargers, maybe you only see 1, 3, 4. So either the second cell is dead, or you didn't put your balance lead on right, or it might even recognize it as a 2 cell. Basically, this is a good way to double check that your balance lead is correct. So again, with the order of the balance lead, I always look at it from the exposed ends, because that's how these ones work. Your positives there, your number 1. Your negative is number 8. Okay. This one goes to the first, the one next to the positive goes to the first junction of the 2 cells. Put it on the ground side, so 2 and 3. The middle one, okay, so number 2 or number 3 in the stack, number 3 is going to go to 4 and 5. Okay, just like that. And then you're at number 4 on here. That's going to go to the final one in the bottom. And that's how you know your cell pack is good. So the next thing I like to do is, I'll take my gloves off for this, but put Kapton tape over the top of your battery. Okay. Kapton's good. It's heat resistant. It's strong. It doesn't just rip and break. So what I like to do is I like to cover each one of these with Kapton. So I go in there, pull it tight, take something to cut it. Oh, not very sharp. All right, so you're gonna go in there and you're gonna cover each terminal or each open end of all the battery. I think it's nice to cover them. You know, you kind of insulate it. You kind of help keep these wires covered and down, so that way they don't just pop off randomly. So that's like another good thing I like about this tape. I kind of go ham with the stuff. I just use it up to hold everything down. I don't think there's a thing as too much Kapton, to be honest. All right, so I think it's a good chunk of Kapton on there. I'm gonna wrap it in these. So I don't have them super long though. Usually I wrap it one way and then the other, but not a big deal. We always have life hacks for this. All right, so I kind of lost the audio there at the end, but go easy on the heat gun and don't get it too hot. It just gets a little too hard to hold, but that's how we build a lithium ion pack for 4S. It's all applicable for things from 2S to 8S or whatever. It just differs when you start doing parallel builds. But yeah, thanks guys for the view, for watching me for like almost 40 minutes. But catch you in the next one. You can always find me on Instagram, Facebook, here in the comments. Send me your questions and I'll try and answer you. But yeah, thanks guys. Catch you in the next one.